Here's $50,000 in cash. According to most immigration advice, this is enough to start a business in America on an E-2 visa. They're wrong, and I have the approved cases to prove it. The E-2 visa's substantial investment requirement doesn't mean what most people think. I'm going to walk you through how to strategically allocate this exact amount to meet immigration requirements, including real examples of businesses that successfully qualified with similar investments. So we're going to go over the E-2 visa misconception. I'm going to break down that 100,000 myth. But here's where it gets interesting. Walk into almost any immigration attorney's office and mention the E-2 visa, and you'll likely hear the same response. You need at least $100,000. This figure has become so deeply entrenched in immigration circle that it's treated as gospel. But is this actually written anywhere in the US immigration law? The short answer is no, and this misconception costs thousands of potential entrepreneurs their American dream every year. When we look at the actual regulatory language from the Department of State and USCIS, there's zero mention of a specific dollar amount. Instead, the regulations describe a substantial investment requirement. The Foreign Affairs Manual, which guides consular officers in making E-2 determinations, explicitly states that substantial is relative to the enterprise in question. What does this mean in practical terms? The investment must be substantial in proportion to the total cost of purchasing or establishing the specific business. For a consulting business that might cost $80,000 to establish fully, a $50,000 investment represents more than 60% of the total, mathematically substantial by any reasonable standard. Immigration officers are trained to evaluate this proportionality rather than fixating on arbitrary dollar thresholds. A $50,000 investment in a capital-intensive business like a factory might indeed be insufficient, but that same $50,000 directed towards a knowledge-based enterprise could represent nearly 100% of the required capital. The legal precedent is clear. It established that the investment should be evaluated on a case-by-case basis. The decision emphasized proportionality as the key factor, not an absolute number. Here's how the proportionality test works in practice. If your business would cost $200,000 to establish at full operation, immigration officials typically expect you to invest at least 50-60% of that amount. However, if your total business cost is $70,000 to $80,000, as is common with many digital enterprises, then $50,000 easily meets the substantial threshold. So why do so many attorneys insist on $100,000 as the magic number? Simply put, it's a conservative approach designed to minimize risk. Many attorneys prefer to play safe rather than optimize for their clients' financial constraints. Others may be unfamiliar with how the proportionality test is applied to modern business models, especially digital ones. The most telling evidence comes from approval statistics. Businesses with investment between $50,000 and $75,000 have been approved at significant rates when they demonstrate proportionality, proper allocation, and market viability. Number 3, strategic allocation, making every dollar count for visa approval. Those approval statistics reveal something crucial. It's not just how much you invest, but where you put each dollar that matters. Immigration officials specifically trained to spot applications where funds aren't properly distributed across essential business categories. Then they'll reject even generously funded applications when the allocation doesn't make business sense. Imagine pouring your entire $50,000 into inventory of a retail store. Looks impressive on paper, right? But without allocating funds for rent, marketing, or operational expenses, you're essentially creating a warehouse with no viable business structure. That application will likely be denied, while someone with the same total investment properly distributed across critical categories would succeed. The strategic allocation of your investment is what transforms it from more money into a compelling business case. A well-structured $50,000 investment typically follows a pattern. $5,000 to $10,000 for business registration and formation costs, $15,000 to $20,000 for initial operational expenses, around $10,000 for marketing initiatives, $10,000 to $15,000 for necessary equipment and technology, and $5,000 to $10,000 for legal and administrative fees. This distribution varies significantly based on your business model. Service-based business like consulting firms typically allocate more towards marketing and professional credentials, while product-based ventures require greater investment in inventory and supply chain management. The key is demonstrating that your allocation aligns with your industry norms for your specific business type. Every dollar you invest must also meet the at-risk requirement, meaning the funds could potentially be lost if your business fails. This is a critical distinction immigration officials look for. Secured loans can be part of your investment, but only if they're backed by your personal assets, not business assets. Immigration officers need to see that you made a genuine financial commitment. not just created a paper enterprise. Documentation becomes your strongest ally in this process. For each investment category, you'll need comprehensive evidence, bank statements showing fund transfers, wire transfer documentation, equipment purchase receipts, and detailed breakdowns of how each expense contribute to business viability. The most successful applications include visual charts showing the allocation alongside market research supporting those decisions. The true power of proper allocation reveals itself in the approval data. Applications demonstrating thoughtful investment distribution across all essential business categories consistently receive approval. While applications with imbalanced allocations face scrutiny regardless of their total value, immigration officials are looking for evidence that you understand what it takes to build a viable business, not just that you have money to spend. Next, we're going to talk about viable business models, low investment enterprises that qualify beyond proper fund allocation. Beyond proper fund allocations, there's another crucial factor immigration officials evaluate: whether your business concept itself is viable. The hidden truth is that the certain business models have significantly higher approval rates than others at the same investment level, and it's not just about the dollars invested. Let's face reality. A 50,000 restaurant or manufacturing facility will likely face immediate scrutiny. These traditional asset-heavy businesses typically require substantial physical infrastructure and equipment that a small investment simply can't cover. But immigration officials understand that not all legitimate business require massive upfront capital. This is where knowledge-based enterprise shine in the E-2 visa process. Immigration data reveals that businesses requiring minimal physical inventory consistently receive more approval with investments as low as $50,000. 5 business models stand out for their consistent success: consulting services, digital marketing agencies, online education platforms, dropshipping business, software as a service startups. What makes these models so effective? They leverage your intellectual assets, your expertise, skills, and industry knowledge as a supplementary form of investment. When consular officers evaluate your application, they're conducting what's called a marginality test. This assessment examines whether your enterprise has the capacity to generate more than minimal income within 5 years. Take online education platforms, for example. With minimal physical overhead and the ability to scale quickly, these businesses can demonstrate clear pathways to profitability through subscription models and course sales. Similarly, consulting services leverage your expertise in a specific field, requiring little more than a professional office space and technology infrastructure. Immigration officials look for very specific markers of viability in your business plan. They want to see projected job creation. How many Americans might you employ in years 2, 3, and beyond? They examine your economic contribution potential. Will your business generate tax revenue and stimulate local economies? And most importantly, they scrutinize your financial growth projections. Are they realistic and based on solid market research? The documentation you provide becomes critical. Beyond standard business incorporation papers, you'll need to demonstrate actual business activities through contracts with clients or customers. Your marketing documentation should showcase a professional brand presence, and perhaps most crucially, your financial projections must be detailed, conservative, and defensible. What many applicants miss is properly addressing the marginality concern. Immigration officials need evidence that your business will support more than just your basic living expenses. This is where detailed market analysis becomes invaluable, identifying your target customers, analyzing competitors, and demonstrating your unique value proposition. So here are some real success stories with 50 to 60,000 investments. Is a $50,000 E-2 visa truly achievable or just theoretical? Consider the German software developer whose initial application was marked a sufficient investment before a strategic pivot changed everything and revealed the exact documentation technique that turned rejection into approval within 45 days. Frank, a back-end developer from Berlin, received a discouraging initial review letter stating his $55,000 investment may not be substantial for a technology consulting business. Rather than increasing his capital, Frank completely restructured his application. He created a detailed portfolio showcasing 5 enterprise systems he had previously built, complete with technical specifications and client testimonials. He then assigned a monetary value to his specialized knowledge, quantifying his expertise in financial terms as intellectual capital with approximately $120,000 based on industry standard valuation for similar proprietary systems. This approach transformed how immigration officials viewed his application. His revised submission included documentation proving he had already secured 3 American clients before his visa approval, with contracts totaling $78,000 for the first year. Frank received approval just 45 days after resubmitting with no additional financial investment. Similarly, Elizabeth from London encountered resistance when launching her online education platform with $50,000. Officials questioned whether this represented a substantial commitment given the competitive nature of e-learning. Her breakthrough came from her allocation strategy, investing $40,000 in custom learning management system development, 35% in premium course content creation, and 25% in targeted marketing. What ultimately convinced officials was a rapid scaling plan, a detailed document showing how her initial course requires significant upfront development, but could be replicated across multiple markets with minimal additional investment. Her documentation included production schedules, content samples, and a technology infrastructure map. Elizabeth received approval after demonstrating how her modest investment would create 4 American jobs within 18 months. The third case involved Hiroshi, who established a drop shipping business with $58,000. Immigration officials initially flagged his application, questioning the viability of his business model. Hiroshi's success strategy was threefold. He provided evidence of exclusive supplier relationship with 3 American manufacturers, demonstrating his platform's specialized focus on eco-friendly home products rather than competing in oversaturated general markets, and included comprehensive competitive analysis showing precisely how his operation filled an underserved niche. What made these applications successful wasn't just their business models, but their documentation approach. All 3 entrepreneurs created investment justification packages that anticipated and addressed potential objections. They demonstrated expertise as quantifiable value, provided evidence of market demand before approval, and showed clear pathways to hiring American workers. These cases reveal that immigration officers respond most favorably to applications that transform abstract business potential into concrete evidence. When combined with strategic fund allocation and knowledge-based business models, investments of $50,000 to $60,000 have proven entirely sufficient for E-2 visa approval. So there you have it. The path to America might be more accessible than you thought. The most exciting part, the State Department's Foreign Affairs Manual actually emphasizes flexibility in the adjudication process. Recent policy changes have even removed some barriers, like the 2020 update of eliminating mandatory physical office space for approval. Now, timing is something to consider. Consular processing typically takes 2 to 3 months, with USCIS change of status requiring similar timeframes, but if you're in a hurry, premium processing can shrink that timeline to just 15 calendar days. Take the next step today. Download our E-2 visa guidebook in the description to map out your journey. Remember, success isn't measured by how much you invest, but by how strategically you allocate those funds to create a viable American business. Talk to you soon.